Hey guys, it's Charge and Hayner present Zoom the TBT. We're doing Bubble Week this week, and we got the Fort Wayne Champs GM, Garrett Martz, in the house. Garrett, what's up, man?
Hey, not much. How are you guys doing?
Hey, doing great, Garrett. Thanks again for jumping on. Really excited to talk about your squad, the Fort Wayne Champs. Obviously, the history we'll get to a little bit here in a second, but it's a G League-based team. So me as a Canton Charge fan and seeing a G League team all come together is pretty exciting for me. So hopefully we'll get to hear a little bit about the Fort Wayne Mad Ants and some of the history in that as we go. But first of all, just tell me how you got involved with TBT.
Yeah, well, it goes back to 2015. So in 2014, the Fort Wayne Mad Ants, so my background is I was the vice president of sales and marketing for the Fort Wayne Mad Ants, and I worked there from 2007 to 2017. So in 2014, we won the championship, and then so that was the first year TBT was 2014, and I vaguely kind of remember hearing some things about this tournament. Didn't really understand. I remember seeing some of the players I was friends with on that Notre Dame team posting about it. I thought it was like a charity thing or something. I didn't really understand. 2015, I see Torrey Jackson post about the tournament. Hey, vote for my team, the Fighting Alumni. He's like, oh, my friend on Facebook, and I'm like, what is this? It's $1 million, so I go on the site and I realize, and I'm looking around, and then I understand, oh, this is actually for $1 million. There isn't some, we're giving it all the way to charity or whatever. It's anyone can apply. It's free to apply, and that's how and then I was like, we just won the D League championship last year. I can probably get a lot of these guys together. Everyone was really like a tight group. And we probably just steamroll through this thing is what, you go into it thinking. Right. and that's kind of how, then I just started to make calls and texts. And I think that first year I was 6 of the 10 guys from that championship squad. And then we added a few kind of former Ants, but not necessarily in that squad. And we ended up going to the semifinals or like the Final Four, whatever you want to call it. And just had it was an amazing experience. Even beforehand, I asked Torrey, like, what is this tournament like? He's like, besides the NCAA tournament, this is the best basketball event you'll ever be a part of. And that was the 2014. That was our first year out. Like, that's how highly he thought of it. So I had, and then the rest, I've just been a TBT addict like you guys, and just want to be a part of it every year. And it's so much fun. And I just kind of look at it almost as like a summer vacation, or instead of doing that, I do this, and it's just like a passion project, I guess, or whatever. I can't believe I just called something a passion project, but yeah, I guess that's what it is.
That's kind of how we view it too, honestly. It's a really nice little disconnect because usually we're starved for basketball. If the NBA restart being a little mistimed this year, it'll be a little bit different calendar than normal years, but still it'll be a great re-kickoff back to sports in America. We can't wait to see it this year, and we hope you guys get in. Speaking of getting in, we know that obviously, and we're calling this Bubble Week, so we're bringing a lot of teams on who like, and let's be clear, a 64-team bracket, it's no brainer. Fort Wayne's in. It's easy peasy, no problems. In this bracket, it's a little harder for every team to get in because there's so many deserving teams on the cut line floor. What do you think are the selection criteria that they're looking for, and how does the Fort Wayne Champs meet them?
Yeah, well, what's great about TBT is they're always very upfront, open, and honest. And if you have questions, they'll answer them. So they have a conference call every week for all the general managers. So really anybody, a player, anybody can just jump on this call. And they've explained it. And the number one way to get in is, market or criteria is marketability. Number 2 is reliability. So have you played it before? Are you going to show up or whatever? What's your past history? 3 is your quality of team. So, and they always say, well, that might sound backwards, but hey, this is a business. They need eyeballs, especially this year when there's no ticket sales. I mean, they really did such an amazing job last year. If you look at Wichita, Syracuse, Columbus, like they outsold like G League would be killing for these type of crowds, a lot of teams. So now, it really relies on, ratings and things like that. So how do we meet? I'm sorry, I used to, work for the G League team, so I go into rants about marketing and stuff sometimes. But anyway, so how we meet them, I think actually marketability, and they were very upfront. So I wanted to make sure I did everything I could. So I, reached out to local media, reached out to players that are from out of other markets. Like there was a story, Ronald Moore, the paper that covers Siena, they did a really awesome feature on him. Brandon Gilbeck had a story done on him. Down in Indy, the Indy Star, which is the biggest paper in the state, they did a story on Taylor Persons and Ball State. So I really went out of my way to say, hey, we are a marketable team. We're Fort Wayne. We treats us almost at this point like we're a 4th minor league franchise. And when we add player updates, they're on the news that night. Like, hey, they just added Jordan Adams and Travis Leslie. So it's a big deal and people do care, and we've been around now. This would be our 6th year. So like people know about it, which is really cool. So I think we really actually hit that pretty well, being a alumni team. I thought we did better than anybody. I bet we've had more media coverage than any team in the whole tournament, if I'm being honest, and I'll take full credit for that. Actually, I'm not kidding. That's true.
You have to. Yeah, so let's dive in a little bit deeper into some of those criteria you talked about. So the first one, kind of that trust and reliability, and checking that box. You have been in it for 5 years. This is going to be the 6th year. 2015 went to the Final Four, so like you talked about, the Ants coming off that D-League championship, and then kind of rolling into 2015. 2016 was a tough one. You lost to my guys from Canton, so we won't talk about that. I remember watching that.
You can
game.
talk about it if you want.
No, that was a good lesson.
Yeah, my guy Gypsy Harden was scorching y'all.
Oh gosh, yeah. No, I'll make
it's a good lesson. What's the lesson? Real quick.
Yeah, so for like GMs who are maybe watching this, maybe they're gonna put a team next year, even the ones this year. If you have a good run your first year, you almost have this feeling of invincibility where you're just gonna run through. Oh, we're gonna be back in the finals or whatever. And I could definitely, looking back, there's a sense of that, of arrogance, and this team, this young team, a lot, shooters and everything, and they just came out and boat raced us. But what I also will say is a lot of teams, and you can see in TBT, the teams that go out the first year, they're maybe big alumni teams, and they have these great visions of success, and then they never come back because it's just such a depressing. That was a gut punch when we went out in the first game in 2016. We had a loaded. If you look at that team, it was pretty loaded. We had Emmett, we had Stephen Graham, we had Matt Bolden, and this is 2015 versions of these guys too, or 2016. And so I could have quit, but no, everybody wanted to play again. Hey, we're not going to go out like that. And now we're still here. Where's VCU? Where's Gonzaga? Where's Colorado? Not to knock people, but like, hey, we're here. We're a staple, so.
Yeah, and I think the real big piece of your guys' story when we're trying to check this box from TBT selection committees, the past 2 years, 2018, 2019, you guys made it to the round of 16 the past 2 years. But the one that sticks out is in 2018. So you guys were not in the TBT.
Oh, yeah.
Team Rondo got whatever happened, unable to make it. So they called Fort Wayne to step in. So take me through that. Obviously, dejection off the bat, but how you got in and how you made that great run short notice.
Yeah, no, I almost forgot that happened because that was kind of depressing. So, but honestly, I look at that. So that year was 2018. You could get in by getting popular fan votes, getting a certain amount of votes. And if you were the highest, you automatically got in. So I looked at that as a failure on my part, that we should have got in that way. And I was too slow to get started. We were very close. I think we were like the bubble of that, not getting in basically. So it's really funny. So we didn't, Dan Friel called me, said, hey, and he's for people that don't know, he's the general counsel, basically co-founder with John Mugar of TBT, called me and said, hey, sorry, you guys didn't make the cut this year. It was a really hard decision. You guys were basically like the first team out or whatever. And I took it well. I was like, hey, and I kind of had a sense. I thought that maybe this was coming. I said, hey, no worries. I understand. I feel like it was my fault for not getting in. And then I think it was like 2 days later, my phone lights up. It's Dan Friel again. And I'm like, I just had a feeling we're in. Why would he be calling me right now?
Right.
And then I think it was Rondo had signed with the Lakers maybe or something where he wasn't going to be available. And that was the whole reason the team was getting in, was because Rondo was going to actually be coaching the team.
Right.
So that was awesome. It was a great sense of relief, and you don't want to miss out. And I would have been really dejected and then we made a nice run to the Super 16. We lost to Team Fredette. Jimmer kind of went off on us. That was one of the years.
He went off on everybody that year.
Yeah. So, but we actually we won the first half, but we lost the important half, which is the second half, basically. So.
Yeah, talk a little bit about this too, because like being a long-term team that really performs well, obviously has made a lot of deep runs even on short notice. Like, what is besides the reliability, how are you guys taking the preparations due to the fact that it's going to be a full quarantine site? Or your players committed? How are you willing to make the sacrifices to make this pull off from a preparation standpoint?
Yeah. Well, I think the biggest thing also for GMs is you have to communicate with the players really well, and you have to let them know, hey, this is what it's going into this. Like, you're going to have the test, like you're going to have to take a COVID test. We're going to be there for 4 days quarantined. And then we're going to be, even if you lose the first game, we're there for 6 days. So it's a much bigger commitment, where in the past, you basically, it's a long weekend, maybe, it's Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and you're leaving Sunday night or Monday morning. So it's not a big deal. Then you're home with your family or whoever for a week. So that's the biggest thing for me. Is like, I have to expect these guys are professionals. I don't need to tell them to be in shape or be ready or whatever. And obviously it's tough because of everything. Their gyms aren't available, but most of the guys are finding ways, to stay in shape.
I know I'm not.
Well, yeah, same here.
Yeah, the rest of us, the pros, us know.
But the biggest thing is just make sure everyone is aware of, dates, and how it's going to work. So there's no surprises. I think that's where teams kind of flame out at this time when you get this close, is that the players all of a sudden are, wait, I thought this was in July 30th. And no, they moved it up, and, and stuff like that. So that's what I do, is just over communicate to the guys so they know. And I'm like honest. I'm like, hey, if you want out, tell me now. Don't tell me the week before the first game, where now I can't change, I can't add if you tell me beforehand, fine. I understand there's, other things are going to come up, but at least, let me know, and you can make that change. But the biggest thing is, communicate.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And so I feel pretty good. The trust and reliability box, checking that off, no problem. Talent. So we talked about this team went to the Sweet 16 or whatever we call it, the
Super
past
16,
2 years. You got the core, Leslie McKinney-Jones and Steph Hicks back again. So tell me what makes those guys so important to your team, and they've been a part of this for a while now.
Right, and that's the big thing, that they've been a part of it for a while, because you want guys that actually they want to be in TBT. They take it serious. They appreciate it. They think they want to be there. Because if you have to beg a guy to play, and if he's not responding or whatever, then it almost never works out. Either he bails on you last second, doesn't show up, or he shows up and he thinks he's going to run over everyone, and then you realize, wow, there's a lot of really good basketball players, and TBT is a super high level. But so I think that's a big part of it, but also it's just they're good guys. You can trust them. They're going to be open and honest, and they're great basketball players. Obviously, that's probably the most important part. But also, like, my team, it's kind of gotten away from being a true. It's not really the Mad Ants alumni team anymore. At least for legal reasons, I changed the name to get away from that, but to not get sued by $1 billion franchise. But the big thing is these guys like and want to play together. Like that's how Steph Hicks and Ben Moore are really close from playing together in the G League. So Ben wouldn't have probably joined the team, but Steph loves TBT, wants to play every year. He would have played last year. He just missed. He literally was going to fly from China directly to Lexington, Kentucky to play in TBT, but his flight got screwed up in his connecting flight, and he just ended up missing, couldn't make it. And then we, unfortunately didn't advance to past the regionals. But that's the biggest thing, is the guys that want to play together, but also are, obviously high level players.
Yeah, it's been pretty cool to watch. Like I said, your team from the beginning. I've got a little more interest in you guys from the G League perspective. And Steph Hicks is kind of at that legendary point for Mad Ant fans now. So I know you had Ron Howard play 1 year, Mr. Mad Ant, and Steph Hicks has pretty much, I think, broken just about every record there is out there. So pretty cool to see that he's just very much involved and still, obviously playing with the team and associated with you guys. It's awesome to see from a G League perspective.
Yeah, no, Steph is literally the guy that's just like, tell me when it is, I'm in, basically. There's never any trying to beg him or talk him into it. It's like, and he had a great year. I think he shot something like 46% from three, which is crazy from, and it's an NBA 3-point line in the G League. So he had a great year, and he's going to be, he's a guy that I always say, you don't have to run a single play for him, which I'm sure he hates to hear, and he'll still score, 25 points, 14 rebounds, and he never had it's just all offensive boards or whatever, kick out threes and stuff like that. But great guy, just like a staple guy that you want on your team.
Yeah, guys that do the dirty work are always valued in basketball. People love to play with guys who get their buckets off the boards. So you have this core of the Mad Ants alum, and then you sort of add guys like Ronald Moore and Jordan Adams, the fresh blood, so to speak. Mm-hmm. Adding these guys, what added dimension do these players add to an already strong franchise?
Yeah, well, Ronald Moore was honestly kind of lucky, because he tweeted out about what was it, a week and a half ago, where he said, "Hey, anyone looking to add a guard in TBT?" Because his Siena team wasn't putting a team in. I think it was Saints Alive was the team that ran a couple years ago maybe, and I was familiar with him a little bit, but I looked him up real quick and I was like, oh, and he was playing on Travis Leslie's team in France. So I'm like. So for me, if guys know each other, it really makes me nervous to bring in a complete outsider to the team if they don't know anyone else on the team. And I looked him up, his history. He's played in like Italy, like the top leagues basically in Europe, like France, Italy. I mean, these are like the top 5 leagues in the world, you know, and been successful. And I asked Travis about him. He said he's a great guy. He said he's a guy that he's more of a facilitator. Well, he's not a selfish player basically, where he's going to help other guys score, but not so much. He's not going to be worried all the time about his numbers, I guess, which is great. Is what you want in a point guard. So to have like a real veteran point guard that's playing at a high level is you want that. And if you can get it. So basically it all happened within like a 3 hours time where I shot him a message, Travis shot him a message, and then we kind of went back and forth. And like, he was like, he checked with his wife and she's like, yep, it's okay. And boom. So that was huge to add him. Cause we also have Taylor Persons, who's a great point guard and had a really good rookie year, in overseas in Holland, is a star, like probably the best player that came out of Ball State in the last 10, 15 years. Maybe since Bonzi Wells, honestly. I'm probably
Bonzi. Haven't heard that name in a while.
Yeah, but so Ron, and then Jordan Adams. So that's actually an interesting story. So I didn't really get into this, and I don't know if people know, it doesn't really matter. But I'm a partner in a basketball agency. So me and the former owner of the Mad Ants, when he sold the team to Pacers, we ended up starting up a basketball agency. So Jordan's actually one of our clients. So I actually would have added him a lot sooner, but Michael at Team 23 had got him before I even really thought, because I just kind of assumed, because Jordan played for the UCLA Sons of Westwood.
Sons of Westwood, yeah.
So I just assumed that he would play with them. I didn't even really think about it. And then I just saw him on Team 23's roster like in April. I was like, oh, dang, I probably should have texted him, I guess, or asked. Because Jordan loves TBT. And that's another thing, you know, like I mentioned before, when guys want to play in it and really care about it and it's important to them, then you want those guys because you know they're going to do everything they can to win. And Jordan's one of those guys, and he scored 37 last year. How Jordan became a client was last year in TBT. After TBT, I have a way I can like screen grab the games and record and do highlights for guys. Because it's kind of a headache if you don't have access to the files, but I could kind of get it a different way, I guess. But anyway, I did highlights for some guys, and Jordan was one of them. And then I kind of kept in touch, and he was looking for a new agent. And so that's how he became a client. So then it's kind of like full circle that now he's on the team. It's really cool. And obviously he's a guy that you want. I mean, he's just can score. And especially with the team, I feel like we put around him too, where Sons of Westwood, they only had like 6 guys. Actually, I was just kind of looking at some highlights from the game a couple of days ago. And so he had to do a lot, where now it's like you have all this supporting cast around you, where I think he could really, you know, it could be even better this year.
Yeah, no, falling into Jordan Adams is not a bad thing. So last minute, I mean, one of the most prolific scorers in TBT. I mean, obviously hasn't played as many years as some of the other guys out there, but when he's on the court, just makes such a difference. And before we move off the roster, I still think there's more interesting names. Ben Moore, obviously, double machine. He's going to take care of business every night. And then I know you were really excited to get Rojas back. So that 2015 run, he actually led the TBT in rebounding that season. And so tell me a little bit about those two guys and what they mean to the team.
Yeah, well, I'll start with Ben. You know, Ben Moore, he actually is a guy I believe I talked to last year about playing. And he just, I think he had some other things going on and didn't end up playing. But he's, like I said, he's a really good friend to Steph Hicks. And he basically is like, hey, if Steph's playing, I'm playing. And he's a guy, again, one of those just dogs that you want that's going to grab every board, fight for every possession, can score, he can shoot, he can score in the post, he can do whatever. And he's 6'8", he can play the 4 or the 5, which that's really big to me, is having a versatile to play a bigger guy that can play both positions, because it gives you a lot more flexibility with your substitutions and things. So he'll just having those guys with that mentality that every play is they're gonna play like it's the last play basically. And then Sadio Rojas, so he was on that championship team in 2014, and that was like his second pro season. And he's another guy, like just what I said about Ben Moore, you can say it about Sadio Rojas, like dive on the floor. Like I tweeted out when we got him, like the most hated player in Spain. And that's true. Like
that's a compliment too. That's a compliment.
Yeah. His team loves him. Like he's like revered on his team. But I talk to players and they're always like, he's the, they call him like dirty or whatever. Cause he plays tough defense. He basically plays defense. They don't like it, but he's fighting for every ball and, again, rebounds, and he can shoot. I joke too. He always would say like, "Oh, I shoot like 80% from corner 3." So I think I tweeted something about him shooting 100% from corner 3. Source Sadio Rojas. But just two guys. I'm like, is the other team gonna? If we play, is the other team gonna get a rebound? Like I don't know in the whole game. Like they, with those two on the court. So that's, a huge. Like I really hope we get in because I just want to see this team like happen. Like, how are things, it's going to be fun to watch. I mean, it's a really fun team to watch.
I'm glad you mentioned that fun to watch too, because it sounds like you got a lot of guys who will just basically eat glass. I know those teams in Michigan State, though, is when they just emphasize rebound percentage a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And so you have this like rough and rugged and ready team built around some wing scoring, but a lot of size and a lot of tenacious upfront play. Like watchability being one of the things we're looking for, like what can the fans expect to check that box to the TBT committee? Like what does the Fort Wayne Champs bring to the table from a fan watchability standpoint? What's the style of play we can expect to watch? Is it engaging? What can we expect to see out of the team?
Yeah, no, TBT likes to show the highlight of like Aaron Kraft, like diving on the floor or whatever in the different pictures. Like that's honestly what our team is as far as, the guys we just mentioned, Sadiel, Ben, Steph, and then you got electric scorers like, Jordan Adams, Travis, Ronald Moore, great point guard. He's going to, find guys. And also we haven't even talked about, Skylar Flatton, one of the best 3-point shooters in college basketball in 18-19. And he's going to light it up. Taylor Persons, he's another guy that use the word dog in basketball. It's like it's a compliment, and he's a dog. Like he, I guess since this isn't an official TBT podcast, we can say
whatever you like.
3. Yeah, the 3 versus 3
the
tournament.
Unofficial podcast of the TBT. Yeah,
the unofficial one.
So how I really first, I guess I saw him play a few times at Ball State, but the 3v3 at the Final Four, that tournament that they did, you guys familiar with that?
Is it the Big Three or the FIBA one? The FIBA one.
No. So basically, it was the top college seniors.
Oh yeah.
Graduated,
Mm-hmm.
So they would play each other at the Final Four.
Memphis had a team actually. I don't think they did very well. They had Davenport and some guys. Yeah.
Basically, every conference has a team. So it was so Taylor was part of the MAC conference, and it was like him and I think it was all like 3 guards on the team. And they went to came in 3rd place, and there was it was, incredible how hard they were playing. So that really stuck with me, like to see his mentality and work ethic and just not giving up. And what I've heard about Taylor too is like, he really rises, whatever the competition level is, like you put him in there with NBA guys, he's going to play, harder and go at those guys, and not like, oh, I'm in awe or whatever. And you can see he knocked off Notre Dame, and I think it was 2017 or 18, where they were the number 9 team in the country. He made a game winner. Ball State beat Notre Dame at home at Notre Dame. So like to have a guy like that on the team too, it's great.
Have you ever played with one of those 3x3 balls?
I have not, no.
So our gym has a couple just because they're interested in shooting. And they're like really, really weirdly ridged, and they're men's-sized balls, but the ridges are like this tall. So the deal is when you grip them, a small hand like me, I have like these little Trump hands. I can still grip a 3x3 ball because they're so like tight there. It's a really weird ball, actually. Like
the FIBA balls are kind of different too. Like if you've ever seen like a Euro FIBA ball, like it's like this. I think they are actually a little smaller than like the NBA balls, but it feels a lot different. So I think it does take guys a little time to get used to it.
Yeah. So before we move on from kind of watchability and fans, it sounds like obviously the brand of basketball is going to be something to see. It's going to be hard nosed. It's going to be exciting. We're going to be scoring in buckets and getting real physical. And you kind of jumped on this a little bit earlier, but you're getting good press in the local TV and the papers. I follow some of the media out there, from the G League perspective. So got that done. I know Coach Gansey was tweeting at the TBT this week, trying to get you in. So you got him behind you. And I've also seen some overseas publications that you guys mentioned this week too. So we're not talking just the United States.
Right.
There's some overseas things that were mentioned about you this week.
Yeah, there's kind of a funny story with that from last year. So Trey, last year we had Trey and Julian Mavunga, who both played in Japan last year. And I had Japanese fans of their teams like messaging me, the Fort Wayne Champs Twitter account, trying to figure out how do I watch this game. Julian and Trey are together, like they're playing on the same team because they were on rival teams. So it was like a big deal. So we have a bunch of followers from Japan, and I would like after the game, I would like send them the box score because they couldn't watch it because they were in Japan, and then in Spain, because Sadio Rojas is such a popular player for his team, he's been with his team for I think it's 5 years now. So there's like the fan site, Twitter site that does like news for them. It has like 30, some 100 followers. They were like, Sadio's on the team? Okay, that's all we need to know, kind of thing like that. So it is cool. I mean, you could see the followers, from Spain now. And I really, I was kind of joking because, Dan Friel is on all these conference calls I mentioned is like marketability. So I'm like, hey, I'm going to hit him over the head that I'm doing everything we can to be marketable. And like I said, and I don't hate. I'm not an alumni team hater. Like I get it. Like you have Syracuse, the Carmen's crew, the Golden Eagles. I mean those guys. I mean those have done amazing jobs. They
Syracuse fans are the absolute worst, though. I'm kidding. I just said that in case my girlfriend's listening because she's one, so I just like to give her crap. They're actually great. I just like to give her crap.
No, yeah, and they were actually a team that, in 2015, they were in the Final Eight with us, and I remember how heartbreaking that was for them because they lost to, I think, Team City of Gods that year, and then
was that the year? Made deep runs. Was that the year Devendorf tried to fight the entire roster?
I think so. Yes,
I was there. It was in Philly. I was there, and he basically tried to fight an entire group of LaSalle players. I'm like, this is fantastic.
Yep. I wasn't there, but that happened the weekend before, but I heard people talking about it, like in the stands, like, did you see this? I was like, oh, geez. But I kind of forgot where I was going with that. But I guess what I was saying is, so, you have like your TBT, like the non-alumni teams that have been successful. So like the Eberlein Drives, the Armored Athletes, and then the cause ones, like Challenge ALS and Sideline Cancer, where I feel like we're kind of in that group, or should be, where, hey, we're staples. We've kind of built our own brand, but even we also have that geographic footprint in Northeast Indiana where we get that coverage and that's what you want from a franchise, if we're calling it that, and TBT. So I feel like we bring a lot. So, I mean, I know it's 24 teams, and I think we were kind of talking beforehand where, they had thrown out scenarios, TBT had thrown out scenarios where, hey, we might do 16 teams, we might do 24, we might do 32. And I was kind of thinking, if we have 16, it's going to be tough for us to get in because all those heavy hitters that have the huge fan bases. 32, I think I'm not worried about it at all. But 24 was like, I don't know. I don't know where we'll fall because I think we've checked all the boxes for sure. Like I think we should be in, but I also understand, they're going to look at it. I'm biased, obviously, and there's probably 25 teams that think they should be in, but I think we've done everything we can do. I don't know what else. The one thing I tried to do is. So Christian Leitner was an assistant coach for the Mad Ants in like 2012. And so every year I text him and say, Christian, this TBT, we have some players that you coached on the team. Will you coach this team? Because it would guarantee us a spot. And Dan Freely even joked one time. He's like, any 92 Dream Teamers affiliated? Yes, automatic bid, basically, which he wasn't probably being completely serious. But so this year I text him. And by the way, he never responds either. So Christian doesn't. So this year I text him, no response, and then I'm like, okay. Then it's starting to get crunch time. Like, okay, we got to make some moves. Like,
text him something different.
So I did. So I
text him. It's your baby, and see what happens.
But no, I texted him basically. I was like, man, are you sure? Like, you're if anyone knows how to win tournaments, it's Christian Leitner, right? And he responded. He said, I applaud. He's like, I applaud your effort, but nobody. And that was it. And then he never responded again.
And then he blocked your number and.
Right. Then I'm probably off the grid now, or I'm off, blocked in every social media and everything. But so I've tried to really do everything I can do. And that's why when I found out that I could get Jordan Adams, I was like, hey, I know that he's going to help our team win by his abilities, but also that he's TBT loves Jordan Adams because he's went off the last 2 years. And then he also brings that UCLA, everything, in first rounder, NBA first rounder. So that
former Grizzly.
Yeah, exactly. And a big benefit to us. So I've really tried to do everything I can do. I don't know what else I could have done, honestly, to check the boxes. So I'm just hoping we put our best foot forward, and now all we can do is just, see what happens.
Yeah, and I agree on the non-alumni piece there that you guys definitely, just based on your history, and not just because you've been in it so many years, some other teams been in it so many years, not quite the success, but with the success you guys have had, definitely should be in the same breath as the Armored Athletes of the world, the Eberlines of the world, the ALSs of the world, and, well-deserved. But, yeah, it's really interesting to see. Fort Wayne really gets behind their teams, and, I just find one interesting one. You've got the lady from Erie, Pennsylvania, who travels to all the TBT regional sites. I don't know if you know
Mandy.
her personally. I know she does.
Yeah, I do. She actually,
I know she knows all the players,
traveled.
But amazing fan.
She actually came to Lexington last year to
hardcore.
watch TBT. So I don't know what kind of a drive that is, but I'm assuming it's a 5 or 6 hour drive. So yeah, we do have fans like that, and it's great. And that's what I feel like we're building. And again, like, I totally respect everyone at TBT. Like, this is such a difficult decision, and we were talking about this before we started too. Like, hey, when you put up $2 million in a basketball tournament, you get to pick the teams, like, regardless of what other people think. I mean, so if we don't get in, I understand, but I mean, I do think we deserve to be in. I hope we do get in. And I think we've kind of shown that, hey, we're going to show up. You don't have to worry about who's on our roster, are they going to be there? Like they're going to be there. And if, so I don't know what'll happen, but I'm just, keep my fingers crossed.
Yeah, I mean, it's all we can do at this point. Obviously, with 24 teams, there's about 30 deserving teams that aren't going to make it. We
Right.
started crying trying to get it down to 24. Well, I charged it, and he's brave. I started crying, so I'm a huge wimp. But so one recurring storyline in this TBT, as we're getting closer to the end, is Andre Emmett, who obviously passed away. Really, really big name in basketball. And there's a couple teams that are attached to him. There's Team Emmett. There's also Super Crew that's playing for his charity or for his foundation. Really good guys. A lot of people have ties to him. And I know that you guys have a personal tie to Andre Emmett as well.
Yeah, so Andre played with the Mad Ants in 2014-15. And he was like our best player, basically, big time scorer, obviously. But he's also just one of those guys that like you walk into the room, he's gonna make a little joke, or he's just like I don't know how to. It's like cool, like he's just like the guy that you automatically start smiling when you're around, kind of thing. And one of my memories that I always, whenever I think of Andre, is it was our first pro wrestling night, which I'm a huge pro wrestling fan nerd. And we finally, I'm trying to talk to Mad Ants and having pro wrestling night every year. Like, let's bring somebody. So it's pro wrestling night, and we're trying to decide who do we have the team. What song do they come out to? Is it Hulk Hogan's theme? Is it Stone Cold's team?
You're a big wrestling fan.
Yes, I am.
You seem so smart.
Hey, it's like but anyway, so I'm sitting at the scores table. I don't know why I'm telling the story because it's probably just funny to me, but and Andre Emmett's leaning there, and we're talking to the announcer, and he's like, I don't know what song should we do. It's Hulk Hogan, and he's like, and Andre Emmett's like just something like Hulk Hogan, that's wrestling, baby. And then that was it. It's like, okay, so Hulk Hogan's theme song is this, the song the team comes out to, and just that Andre Emmett was like a wrestling fan. I was like, oh my god. But anyway, then Andre he played for us in 2016 when we got beat in the first game, unfortunately. But it was actually, that's also kind of a good story with Andre is I wanted him on that team so bad because I was like, if we have Andre, we are winning this thing. There's like, because he's just like the GM, Jeff Potter, who's the owner. He was the owner of the Madness. He was like, Andre Emmett's the guy that goes into the pool room and he comes out with all the money. Like he's and that was how good he was. And like when I got he finally sent me his video for TBT. It was like, I'm playing for the Fort Wayne. At the time we're Ants Alumni. I literally was in the car with someone. I was like, oh my god, blah blah blah. Like I was so excited. So he's just one of those guys that like he lights up a room, kind of thing. And to see what happened to him was just so sad. And it was really a gut punch to people that worked with him, in Fort Wayne. And there was a group text. I was like, can you believe this? And just the senselessness of it, it's like just for him to die like that. It was just really, really tragic. And I was really excited to see those teams come together. Tony Mitchell, we call him Big Tony Mitchell. It was the Mad Ants. We had two Tony Mitchells, but Big Tony Mitchell from North Texas was on that team. I know him. He's a great guy. And he's, he calls Andre his cousin, and because they were from that same area, and he knows, and they're close. They were close, and so that was, I mean, Andre's just one of those bigger than life personalities, and it was really sad. But I'm glad that they're honoring his memory, and he was a big, he had created his own, his nonprofit that gave back to the kids and the community and everything. And so Andre's a great guy. I guess I don't know what else to say, but definitely miss, and I'm glad that there's people honoring his memory in TBT.
Yeah, no, really appreciate you sharing a little bit about that. Obviously, knowing he was on your team and the impact he's had on so many people across so many different organizations. Appreciate you sharing that. So before we start to head off towards closing this out for tonight, we also like to talk a little bit about just overall TBT memory. So you guys have been in 5 years, made the Final Four appearance. So what's kind of your one or two kind of favorite memories of the TBT, whether it's a game you were a GM of or just something that you've seen or watched? But what do you remember most about the TBT?
Probably, my favorite memory is definitely probably our 2015 when we just kind of ran through and into the semifinals, the Final Four, and just like seeing the joy of the guys like playing together again. Because and this is probably an overall memory. Every year that I kind of relive this is you see guys that maybe they'd never even see each other again but they happen to play on the Mad Ants for this 1 year, for this 3 months. But they were good friends. But if life goes on, and one guy's in France, one guy's in Japan, and then they get to see each other, and you see kind of their eyes light up, and they're playing, and it's just like old times. And that's what every year kind of like warms my heart, if I can say that. When I see that. And then also, it builds new relationships where then I see like guys that didn't know each other, like, like last year we had Cam Jackson, who's one of our clients, and Brandon Gilbeck, and then now they're friends with these guys, and you see on social media and things, like guys that they didn't know. But definitely my favorite memory is that 2015, just going to the Final Four. I mean, just the excitement level. And we played in some close games, and we beat, my one claim to fame that I'd always say every year kind of jokingly was Fort Wayne Champs is the only team to ever defeat a reigning TBT champion, because we beat the Fighting Alumni in the round of 16. We're overseas elite then won for 4 years, so no one could claim they beat the reigning champ except us. So, but yeah, that that run, because we played Armored Athlete that year too and beat them when they had those IU, Will Sheehy, Christian Watford, Jordy Halls, in a tough game. So I would say that's probably my favorite memory. But really, just honestly, every year the kind of general memory is getting everyone together and just seeing them kind of reconnect and see each other when maybe they never would have if it wasn't for TBT.
Yeah, no, that fellowship's so important, and we hear that so often from so many guys. So that's awesome. Yeah, before we close, I find it kind of weird. I'm a Canton Charge guy. Okay, you're a Fort Wayne Mad Ant, and if you don't follow the G League, there are small rivalries.
There's definitely. I would say Canton's definitely the biggest rivalry.
I don't follow the G League that much, so you guys don't have to educate me.
But Canton and Fort Wayne, obviously, it's aside from the Erie Bayhawks, one of the closer drives to go see it. And one of our old coaches, Steve Ganzi's now the head coach of Fort Wayne, and the games are, for whatever reason, just that much more intense. So I mean, we're just breaking down barriers here. I'm obviously a big fan of Fort Wayne, and want to see you guys get in. And really weird from a Canton fan, but obviously, the organization's great over there. I've traveled and watched games there before, and everyone part of that organization is fantastic. So it's been a lot of fun.
And I've been to the Canton Civic Center several times. So it's it's about a 3-hour drive, I think, or something like that. And that's probably been our biggest rival with them, and it's great in the G League. And I kind of do take pride that even though I don't really consider us like a G League alumni team anymore, but just the fact that you have to have a real brotherhood or people that really want to like each other, want to play together, because a lot of time the G League, it almost feels like mercenaries where they're just there for a couple of months or whatever, a season, where it feels like our guys, for whatever reason, it's kind of have this bond. And then part of it maybe is because of TBT, because they're getting to see, they're playing in something different, even though they're one on their different ways. So I take pride in that, that we're really the only, that level of basketball professional team that is kind of, has that alumni feel to it a little bit.
Breaking down barriers of G League rivalries, ZoomTheTBT. We do all sorts of friendship based around this. Garrett Martz, GM of Fort Wayne Champs. Thanks for joining us tonight at Bubble Week.
Hey, thank you very much for having me on. I appreciate it, and I really enjoy the show. It's great. This is what shows TBT's growth here, is that this is happening, that you guys have taken the time out of your days and put this together, and it's great, and I appreciate it, and I've been enjoying the shows, so thank you.
Thanks, Garrett. Appreciate you.